The largest attendance ever recorded at any football match in history was 173,850 people, all packed into the Marathon in 1950. That's the kind of number that sounds made up. It isn't, and that's just fact one. 11 things happened at the World Cup that sound completely fabricated. All of them are real. All of them are documented. And the further down the list you go, the harder it gets to believe football is a real sport. Let's go. The official attendance at the 1950 World Cup decider between Uruguay and Brazil was 173,850, still the record for any World Cup match. And that's just the official number. It is widely believed that over 200,000 were actually inside the Marathon that day. The biggest stadium in the world right now holds around 90,000. This crowd had almost double that. And here's the part most people miss. It wasn't even technically a final. The 1950 winner was determined by a final group stage, not a one-off match. Brazil needed only to avoid defeat to become world champions. Uruguay needed a win. The match is simply regarded as the de facto final of the 1950 World Cup. Brazil had already printed the winners' medals. A newspaper had already declared them champions on the front page that morning. Uruguay won 2-1. The result is considered one of the biggest upsets in the history of football. Brazil still talks about it. That was 75 years ago. Fact 2. A player received a red card after 56 seconds. His name was Jose Batista. Uruguay versus Scotland, 1986 World Cup. The match had barely started. His team played with 10 men for the remaining 89 minutes. The match ended 0-0. Uruguay still advanced from the group. That is still the fastest red card in World Cup history. Think about what that means. He came on. He lasted less than a minute, and his team went through anyway. Fact 3. India qualified for the 1950 World Cup. Then they withdrew. The legend says FIFA refused to let them play barefoot. Here's where it gets interesting. The real reason was more bizarre. They thought the Olympics were more important. And the trip to Brazil was too long and too expensive. India have never appeared at a World Cup since. That 1950 spot was their only one. Ever. The barefoot story is more interesting, which is probably why it survived. Fact 4. The 1994 World Cup final. Brazil versus Italy, the two most decorated teams in the tournament's history, ended 0-0. 90 minutes. Nothing. 30 more minutes. Still nothing. You'd think two teams that good would produce something. Not quite. It remains the only World Cup final in history that ended without a single goal. It went to penalties. Roberto Baggio stepped up last for Italy, needing to score to keep his team alive. He missed. Over the crossbar. That image, Baggio, head down, hands on knees, became one of the most iconic photographs in football history. Remember that crossbar. It comes back. Fact 5. The 1998 World Cup final. Brazil versus France. Hours before kickoff, Brazil's best player, Ronaldo, collapsed in his hotel room and had a convulsive fit. He was taken to hospital. Then, somehow, he was put back in the starting lineup hours later. No full explanation was ever given. France won 3-0. Ronaldo barely affected the match. Nobody has ever fully explained what happened that day, and nobody fully agrees on who made the decision to play him. That story has never been closed. Fact 6. In 1966, someone broke into an exhibition in London and stole the World Cup trophy. The police searched for a week. Nothing. Then a dog named Pickles found it under a hedge, wrapped in newspaper. England won the World Cup that year. Pickles received fan mail. Some people credit the dog with changing England's fortune. This has not been confirmed. The dog got fan mail. That part is confirmed. Fact 7. 2006 World Cup final. France versus Italy. The best player in the world, Zinedine Zidane, opens the scoring with the Panenka penalty. Chips it softly down the middle, straight off the crossbar and in. Remember that crossbar from Fact 4? Now it's back. With 10 minutes left in extra time, Zidane headbutted Marco Materazzi in the chest. Just planted his head directly into his chest. Think about the timing. He was 10 minutes away from potentially lifting the World Cup in his final professional match. Red card. Last act of his career. France lost on penalties. Zidane still won Player of the Tournament. The tournament voters gave the award to the man who got sent off in the final. That happened. Fact 8. A goalkeeper hit a razor blade inside his glove during a World Cup qualifier. Chilean goalkeeper Roberto Rojasta didn't just cheat, he planned it. He brought a blade to the stadium. He hid it. When a flare landed on the pitch near him, he fell to the ground and cut his own face. The plan was to make it look like the flare had injured him so that Brazil would be disqualified from the qualifier. A photographer caught the entire sequence on camera. Rojas was banned from football for life. Chile was banned from the 1990 World Cup entirely, the most elaborate cheating scheme in football history, and it failed because of one photographer. Fact 9. Colombia, 1994. Their captain Andres Escobar scored an own goal against the United States. It was an accident. The ball deflected off his boot. Colombia went home. Escobar went home. 10 days later, he was shot and killed outside a nightclub in Medellin. He was 27 years old. Football has never fully made sense of that one, and it never will. Fact 10. 1930. First ever World Cup. A player goes down injured. The team doctor sprints onto the pitch with his medical bag. He drops the bag. A bottle of chloroform shatters on the grass. The fumes knock the doctor unconscious. The doctor came to treat a player. He knocked himself out with his own chloroform. That happened at the very first World Cup. In 1930. Before any of the other 10 things on this list. And then there's fact 11. The one that actually changed the sport. 1982. Spain. West Germany versus Austria. Final group game. Both teams knew exactly what they needed. If West Germany won by exactly 1 goal, both teams advanced. Algeria, who had already played their final group match, would go home. West Germany scored in the 10th minute, and then both teams just stopped. For 80 minutes, they passed the ball around. No shots, no pressure, no attempt to score. The fans knew immediately. They booed. They threw things onto the pitch. They chanted for Algeria. It changed nothing. Algeria went home. Both teams advanced. The result stood. FIFA were furious. And here's the payoff. Remember that strange fact from the beginning about how the 1950 match wasn't technically a final. About how the format left teams vulnerable to exactly this kind of manipulation. The Uruguay-Brazil attendance of 173,850 remains a record crowd for a World Cup game. And the format that produced that match was the same kind of format that made the disgrace of Gijón possible. FIFA fixed it. From the next World Cup onwards, all final group stage matches in the same group kick off at the exact same time. No team can know what result they need before the final whistle. Every World Cup since 1986, every group, every final match day, simultaneous kickoff. All because of one match in 1982 where 2 teams simply decided not to play football. 11 facts. All real. All documented. One of them changed how the sport is organized forever. And whatever happens at the next World Cup gets added to this list. If you want part 2, because there are always more, subscribe and tell me in the comments. The game hasn't changed. You just know more about it now. You're welcome.